Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And my guest today, Lisa Erickson, her jam is chakras. I've been saying it wrong all this time, but it's chakras. And she is absolutely an expert on meditation and chakras and trauma. She has all kinds of cool resources and things that you'll learn today in this podcast that can help you when somebody is pushing your buttons. And in our world today, we need something to help us when somebody's pushing our buttons because they're getting pushed a lot lately. Thank you. And if you think that this is helpful to you or anyone that you know, please send it to them. If you would like to talk to either one of us, just make comments in the below here and we will respond to you. Thank you so much. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kara. I'm really glad to be here and talk to you about all of these topics.
Well, good, because I've got a lot of burning questions and I'm sure my listeners do too. I introduced you and gave them kind of an overview. The biggest thing I'm curious about right off the bat is the chakras. What is a chakra?
So chakras are energy centers. And if you think about our physical anatomy, we have a stomach, we have a heart, we have a brain, we have these major organs. We have an energy anatomy also that interfaces with our physical anatomy. So the best way to think about the chakras is they're like the organs. They're like the major organs. They are these main energy centers that align down the center of our body, head to tailbone, really, right down the middle of our head and torso. And they really represent the main kind of energy intersections. We have a lot of other flows of energy that intersect with our physical body, but those are the main intersections.
Okay. So even if we don't, and it's not chakra, it's chakra.
Yeah, it is CH, a harder CH is the traditional pronunciation, although many people say sha, and that's okay too.
No, I want to learn. I want to understand. So, okay. So who discovered that we had chakras?
Well, that word chakra comes from the Far East, really comes from India, and it means wheel of light. So chakra comes from those traditions, the yoga traditions of ancient India. They spread to Tibet, to Japan. But what's very interesting is that throughout cultures around the entire world, there have been energy anatomies. There have been mappings and this positing of an energy body. And what's so amazing is how many similarities they have. You will find energy centers in certain places, especially the chest, around the heart, in the head, in the belly, in the crown of the head. You will find that in Africa, throughout South America, indigenous cultures in the U.S., Celtic traditions throughout Europe, in addition to the East. So the idea of an energy body is something many cultures discovered, but the word chakra specifically is coming from the East.
Okay, cool. So we're made up of energy. You know, I know that, but it's so hard to wrap my brain around that because it looks and feels like I'm flesh and, you know, but it's really energy. And when I enter a room, does my energy impact the other people in the room?
Yeah, your energy impacts them and their energy impacts you. And which impacts more has a lot to do with how you hold your energy body. So we know people who walk into a room and they shift the room, right? But if you're highly empathic, you may feel like you walk into a room and you start feeling everybody's energy on you. So most of us are kind of one or the other in different situations. So yeah, there's this constant interaction of energy. And I think one thing to think about in terms of that idea of your body being solid is the whole idea that H2O is solid below a certain temperature as ice, right? It's vapor above a certain temperature as steam, and it's liquid at kind of this neutral temperature that most of us are living in. So this is a certain density of energy. Our consciousness is also energy, but a very abstract level. And we have this energy body that's in between. It's really this intersection of mind and body, this other layer of energy, another density level.
Okay, so you were very specific there. You talked about the fact that somebody who's an empath might feel just so energy boundaries. Is there such a thing?
There is. That is a huge topic for me, is energy boundaries. And what it's really about is learning how to hold your mind and by consequence, your energy body in a certain way that you aren't absorbing others' energies. And anyone can learn to do that. It's really like correcting your posture. And some of us have natural empathic tendencies, but also we pick up a lot of messaging as we grow up that may impact how we hold ourselves. So if we grew up in a home, for example, where maybe there was some instability, maybe there were dysfunctions, addiction, mental health issues in the home, and we didn't feel safe, even abuse or trauma, then we might have developed the pattern of constantly scanning what is everyone feeling all the time so I can try to adapt to that to stay safe. Well, then the energy body, the way you hold your mind and your energy is very absorbent because you're always trying to tune into everyone else. You may have absorbed the messaging, I'm supposed to people please. I'm supposed to make everyone around me happy. How do I do that? I take on their negative emotions, right? So conditioning like that impacts how we hold ourselves in the world, including our energy body. So you kind of have to heal some of those imprints, and it changes how you hold your energy body. So it's a very psychological process. The energy body is this intersection between your psyche and your body. And so there's psychological work involved in holding yourself differently. That was a lot to throw at you, but hopefully.
No, I'm following you completely. I like that makes so much sense because I did grow up in a home like that where you are constantly scanning to make sure and knowing where everybody's at. And so how, like, you've got to heal that. You got to go back and heal that. And then let's pretend that someone doesn't have anything like that, yet they still have people that are taking their energy. How do they handle that?
Yeah. Well, if I'm working with someone like that, we will be working kind of on the psychological piece, or they may be working through other means on that, right? With a therapist, et cetera. And then I'll also be working on strengthening specifically the lower chakras, which are linked more to our physical body and how we hold our energy, what's called the navel chakra, right? Which is the energy center in our belly, and really learning to focus there and kind of hold energy there. A visual I like to use is a little candle flame, like you have a little flame, literally fire in your belly, right? Where some of these phrases come from, I think. And you're visualizing this little flame in your belly and learning how to hold that steady. And the act of doing that shifts this balance in your energy body. So very simple visualizations, breathing techniques, and contemplative processes like that over time start to shift how you hold your energy and your ability to boundary it.
Okay. That it is so fascinating because so many people are empathic and they don't know how to handle it. They don't have a clue. So you're saying that if someone called you and you do individual sessions and they wanted to work with you, on average, like, I know there's not an average because some people have so much baggage, but like, what could they expect to see some improvement? What, like where they know, oh my gosh, this is actually working within how much time do you think?
Honestly, I have 2 boundary exercises that I do. And if we focus on that in one session and people are really trying to do it daily, I initially start out probably every 2 weeks with someone. In 2 weeks, they notice the difference. When they remember, utilize it, right? And so then it is about building that new habit, which we know from habit development research, it takes like 12 weeks or so of daily persistence to develop a new habit. So if you stick with something like utilizing these techniques every day for 12 weeks, some of it's going to become automatic. You have managed to kind of rewrite your default way of holding your energy body. So that's kind of, it's different for each person, but that's kind of one expectation. It also really depends on why their boundaries, some of the psychological stuff we talked about, like someone who's really needs external validation and really has a lot of people-pleasing stuff they need to work through, could take longer because that's harder to break that pattern.
Okay. So as a hypnotist, you're a hypnotherapist. So
I actually am not a hypnotherapist. I'm an energy worker. So I don't, at this point, do hypnotherapy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that sounded like hypnotherapy a little to me, but that's
more guided work. So I am guiding someone, but I'm not using those initial tools that a hypnotherapist does to take you into, you're in a completely aware, it's more like a guided meditation, you might think of it as.
okay.
It's not just about stilling your mind in the way meditation is. It's about actually focusing on certain parts of your body and activating the energy there.
Okay. So give us, without, of course, a name, but give us a success story of someone that came in and was really, really needing your help and now is doing incredibly well.
Well, I'll focus specifically on boundaries because I do a lot of trauma healing and a lot of women's life phases like postpartum and perimenopause. But so in this case, since we've been talking about boundaries, I'll focus in on that. I recently was working with a woman who really is very intelligent. She was in her late 20s, doing well in her career, but had just shifted into a role where she needed to do more large presentations, where she was expected to be leading the sales teams to try to win work of these larger projects. And she would prep and have everything ready, but get in front of these groups and, that were larger than she usually had to present to, and find herself freezing up. And she didn't feel like it was just anxiety. A piece of it was nerves. So we were working with that also, how to manage nerves in your body. But she felt like she was going blank. So when we really walked through the situations, I really felt like she was getting overwhelmed by literally the focus of 20 people just on her. And so we started working with this navel fire technique and another one I call second skin, which is like you're developing this energy skin on top of your physical skin that is filtering out with a set of affirmations. Some people are very visual. Some people respond better to doing a visual and then backing it up with affirmations, around I claim my right to boundaries. I observe energies, but I don't take them in. Just simple things like that to affirm the shift that's going on. And, she had an almost immediate reaction within 2 weeks that she really felt like she was able to manage that and move forward from there. So that's a simple story right there.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So meditation is your main drive. How often? I know the more the better. I just know that right off my bat. I just know. But how often should someone meditate?
Yeah. Well, and I have kind of 2 kinds of meditation. Well, 3 really. Like there's stress management meditation. There's this energy work stuff where you're really trying to work with your chakras and shift something. And then there's spiritual meditation where you really are specifically orienting towards connecting with whatever you consider spirit to be, right? So they really are kind of 3 different goals and categories. But across the board, you got to say touching it daily. We know the research is indisputable, has a huge benefit.
Oh, cool. Research. Tell me more. I love research.
Yeah. When it comes to, say, for example, stress management, there's the most research on that. And they've done a lot of studies on where they were comparing, for example, lowering someone's blood pressure compared to medication. Someone who learned a particular type of stress management-based meditation, which really involves slowing your breathing and things like this, for 20 minutes a day for 8 weeks, were able to lower their blood pressure set point as much or more than someone who went on a medication in that time. Now, 20 minutes every day is a lot to start with. Most people, that's hard. These people in the study were being supported, right? But that study's been repeated more than once. And so it's indisputable, right? So that's kind of the first one I always throw out when it comes to daily.
Okay, so everybody who's listening, you have an option to be on drugs that have side effects, or you can take some time for you, love yourself, and breathe through 20 minutes of meditation and lower your blood pressure to where, and I do need to tell everybody here, I have been doing some breath work for probably about 8 weeks now, and my resting heart rate now is 54. And that's like amazing. It does matter. It works. So you also do breath work with meditation. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, for some people, especially if we're orienting around stress management, breathwork can be very effective, right? Even in the moment, as you probably already know, if you elongate your exhale just for a few breaths, it has an immediate impact on your nervous system, right? So that's why there's a lot of breath-based meditation. Now, some people don't take to that. I work with a lot of trauma survivors, and there's some research that like restricting your breath causes anxiety in some people. So for some people, it isn't appropriate. I think that's really the thing about meditation, is finding what resonates, knowing what your goal is, and then finding what resonates for you. Are you very visual? Do you like having a guided voice? Does the breath work for you? So you really have to experiment a little bit.
Right. Everyone is different, for sure. For sure. Okay. So someone who is brand new to meditation and they think it's just silly. And I was one of them. I'll admit it to you guys. I really was. I'm like, seriously, I've got all these things to do and you want me to stop and breathe and om and stuff? Like, come on.
Yeah.
However, they can see a lot of incredibly successful people who do it regularly and swear by it. And maybe they're just a little curious, but they're not going to tell anybody they're curious, and they want to do something privately at home by themselves. Where do they go?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of great apps now. There's the Calm app, there's other apps, and I do think they're a good place to start for someone like that, because there's multiple guided meditations, and it's right there in your phone, and it'll literally add it to your calendar. So, these are the ways that we get our mind to commit. I think the other thing is that habit research says, like I said, 12 weeks is the average time it takes to create a new default. So can you commit to an experiment for 12 weeks? You don't have to believe in it. This is a results-based experiment. It's not about faith. So can you try it and see what happens? The third thing I always say is let go of expectations. People have this idea they should sit down, do this technique, and their mind goes quiet. And when it doesn't, we're like, oh, see, meditation isn't for me. It's just not for me. No, everyone's mind is doing that. I've meditated 35 years. My mind still does that some days, right? So you let go of that expectation that you do some technique and it's supposed to just stop everything. The value of meditation is every time you pull your mind back from distraction, that's a meditation push-up. So your mind wanders. You're like, oh, I'm supposed to be focusing on my breath. You pull it back. It wanders. You pull it back. It's the moment of pulling it back that is building up this certain muscle of self-awareness that is and control over your attention. That's actually the value, not how long you sit in bliss. I mean, it's great if you get to a point where you're sitting in this great, relaxed, calm state. But it's actually more about pulling yourself back. So if you do that 100 times, you do that 100 times. That's very powerful. You're strengthening that self-awareness attention. And that's brain. That's proven in the brain. You can strengthen that part of you that pulls your mind back from distraction.
It is so exciting, all the new, in the last 5 years, all the information that has come out on the brain. And so you've studied what meditation actually does.
Yeah, and different meditations impact different parts of the brain. So there's the part that impact attention. There are compassion-based meditations, and they actually do shift our brain to be more perceptive of sort of other people's needs, not taking them on, right, in a dysfunctional way, but being able to see things from another perspective. Actually remaps that part of the brain to make us more compassionate. So there's a lot of different things meditation can do. Chakra meditation is a little different because you're focusing on these energy centers, but you're still getting that value of pulling your mind back over and over to whatever chakra you're focusing on, in addition to, I would say, these energetic benefits.
Okay, so the reason I've focused so much on chakras is because that's what you wrote the book on. I mean, you literally wrote the book on it.
That is my thing, my main jam.
That's my main jam. So we want to learn everything we can about it. Just kind of start from the beginning. I've never heard the word before. Tell me, how does it benefit me or hurt me if I don't pay attention to it?
Yeah. So energy centers, right? Going back to that phrase we used, if that's more accessible than chakra, just think in terms of energy centers. And they are really aligned up the middle of your body, and they represent different sides of yourself, from your physical to your emotional your mental, relationships, expression, right? Intuition, spiritual connection, all these different things that make us human. And so by focusing across all of them, you really are approaching yourself holistically. And when we are blocked, you could say, in a particular area, it shows up in our life. And you can work on it psychologically for sure. But the energy work, sometimes that complements it and speeds it in a way. It's like if you're really guarded in your heart and you're very blocked, the way that's showing up in your life that you may be working on in therapy or counseling is you have trouble making connections, you don't have close friends, you have trouble finding relationships. You just feel walled off. You feel lonely, maybe. You feel isolated, and you struggle to make connections with people. So there's a lot of ways you can work on that psychologically. If we're complementing that work with working on your heart chakra, we're trying to focus there on this sense of opening, this sense of connection, giving you a new reference point for what does that feel like to not be afraid of people? What does that feel like to feel open in your heart? And then working on expression with your throat chakra. What does it feel like to express yourself openly? And it might seem, it is woo-woo. It might seem too woo-woo, but actually focusing in these parts of your body, these energy centers, bring that energy more into your life. So you gradually start to express that more and feel that more in your life. It's literally like you're practicing a new state that takes hold over time. And it's one of those things where you just have to try it and see if it works for you. You don't have to believe in it before you try it.
Yeah. I mean, even if you think of it as a metaphor, it's still just try it. So if someone's new and they're coming to you and they don't even know what a chakra is, how do you determine which one, if any, like they're probably all blocked if they've never done anything with it, right? Is that safe to say?
It's because some people can be, a lot of people have kind of worked with their chakras without knowing it through mind-body exercise, because yoga is based on the chakras. The physical poses are based on a certain amount of release and clearing of the chakra body when you hold the poses in a certain sequence. So it depends on the person, but I'm going to cue off what they are perceiving in their own life as the biggest problem first. And then we may be digging and finding layers to that. But what are they experiencing? Is it anxiety in a presentation? Is it loneliness? What are they experiencing? We'll start there. We may find all these other things underneath that, cause us to shift where we're focusing.
Okay. So how often is it really the thing that I come to you and I say, it's my job or it's my husband or it's my kids or whatever? I come to you and I say, it's this. And you dig. How often is it really this that I presented to you?
Almost never. That's the surface level presentation, right? And then underneath, there's all of these layers. Like someone will, feel like they can never meet anyone, whatever. And what we're really dealing with, for example, the example I just gave, someone really guarded in their heart, right? There's often patterns of unworthiness in there, right? Or fear, a trauma or abuse background that has made them very guarded, made them very much a survivor, but they're very walled. So you have to go and work with some of that healing in order to develop the confidence and the sense of self-worth and safety for them to be able to put themselves out there a little bit more and drop those heart walls. So you're working throughout the system for sure.
Gosh, how fascinating. I mean, really, how fascinating to be able to walk people through what they didn't even know existed. Like they don't even know. A mentor of mine says it's like when you're walking through the woods and you get caught by something. You stop and you turn around and you see what it is and you unhook yourself. But in life, we just let these things keep pulling us down and we don't ever take the time to take a look. So for those of you that Lisa told you, go to an app and start, that's a really good idea. For those of you that really, really want to go to the next level, you can see that you're going to go to an app and you're going to say, it's my job, my husband, my kids, whatever, and you're going to be working on the wrong thing because you don't have a coach there leading you through it. And I know that you don't call yourself a coach, but it is very much like a coach, right?
Yeah, energy coach, basically.
Energy coach. Yeah, okay. So what are some basic things that we can do to increase our energy, to improve our energy? Is it that we have less energy when they're blocked, or is it just nasty energy?
Well, it depends on the chakra, right? Because you could be really energetic physically, but very disconnected from kind of your true self, your ability. So in that case, your ability to express yourself, right? In that case, you may have, this is maybe getting too technical, your lower chakras, the aspect of your lower chakras that has to do with physical energy are strong. They're okay, right? But the aspect of them that have to do with really feeling safe and centered in who you are blocked in the same chakras, right? And then that expresses as this sort of hyper need for validation, constant achievement, constantly going so that you're feeling like you're accomplishing something, right? So it isn't really so simple as which chakras are blocked, which are open. It's more like we each have this makeup, this software that's gotten written through our experiences where certain aspects of certain chakras are open and certain aspects are blocked. So we're trying to get them all open, right?
Ooh, that showed me a whole different view. I was thinking each one has to be, and I've heard the term cleared, right? So I figure you go and you clear this one, and then how long do you have to go back in again and clear it again? Is more stuff coming in? And then that's a poorly phrased question, so I'll rephrase it.
Yeah.
How often should you? Is clearing chakras a real term? Am I saying something correct? Okay,
Yeah.
So how often should you do that?
You have really, you're getting into some deep stuff here now.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's go.
There are layers to the chakras. And so when we talk about clearing, usually we're really talking about the layer linked to the physical body and sort of what's often called our aura, like the sense of someone's presence in the world. And exercise in yoga and mind-body exercise will really clear that level. Like you'll walk out of a yoga class glowing, right? Everything's cleared. Your chakras are cleared, right? Or you can go through different yoga clearing processes. And mostly it's clearing on that level. But we have these other layers that are linked into our psyche, these conditioned patterns that we're talking about. You don't clear a people-pleasing pattern or a not feeling safe from abuse pattern in one little crystal technique, right? So those things have value. They give you a moment of feeling it, right? But they don't clear on these deeper levels. You have to do other kinds of work to clear on those other levels. So I'm saying a yes and a no. Yes, clearing has value, but no, it isn't the same as this deeper work. It's in combination with that.
Okay, so let's say you do the deeper work. You go whatever, like it's a several month-long process and maybe years, I don't know. But you do the really deep work and you get as clear as a person could possibly get. Do they get messed up again?
Oh, gosh. I mean, they could, yes. I would say really what I'm focused on is less like, let's get them all clear. I think more in terms of let's empower you with the tools to recognize different patterns when they arise in you and how to correct them in the moment. That's true empowerment. So I don't think of it so much in terms of like cleaning, right? I think more like, here's the tool. Oh, there's my people-pleasing pattern. I haven't seen that for months. Let me center. Let me let go. Let me focus on my navel chakra for a moment. Let me focus on the sense of worthiness in my heart and let that instinct to just do what this person wants me to do subside. So it's really about building the capacity to notice things and then react differently, draw on a tool that you have to shift your energy in that moment. Does that make sense?
It totally does. It totally does. Okay, so all of your energy work involves meditation, but you have 3 different basic specialties.
Yeah, and in terms of the daily activations, I don't even call them meditations. I call them more activations because meditation people do think of more longer, needing to sit longer. So I do like it if people are doing the practices on their own as a meditation. But I'm also focused on during the day. You're about to go into that presentation. You just got triggered by someone, right? What can you do in that moment? And there are little chakra activations you can do in the moment. So I do meditations, but also what I call activations.
Okay. So would you mind leaving our listeners with one quick, somebody pushed their button, triggered them is the term used. what's one thing that they can do in the moment to overcome that?
Let's keep it really simple. Put your hands on your belly, just below your navel, and visualize a little flame in your belly. So you go into the bathroom stall, little flame there, like a little candle there. And take a few breaths in your belly. And imagine this candle flame is getting brighter. And after a few breaths of that, in this particular case, because you've been triggered by someone else, I'd recommend 2 internal affirmations, or you could do them out loud. The first one would be, I'm centered in myself. I can choose how to respond. And that would be it. So that would be an example of a very simple one.
I love that. That's so powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Okay. So this podcast is, first, before I ask you that last question, is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have?
Oh, wow. No, I think that's great. There's one little thing. I think you've asked great questions, so it's been great. One thing I like to mention is, sometimes when people look up chakras, they'll read about like the upward flow through the chakras, this kind of spiritual awakening. We talk a lot about manifesting and goal attainment. Just to give people a reference point, the downward flow is birthing or making something happen in the world, right? Which is instinctive. Like it starts up here as an idea, inspiration. You move through all these steps to make it manifest in the world. So the chakra system, in addition to being a map for all the stuff we've been talking about, is also a map for sort of personal growth in terms of the upward flow and making things happen, creating new things in the world, birthing them in terms of the downward flow. And just an interesting little thing that sometimes people relate to.
I'm blown away by that. I'd never heard anyone talk about that way. Not that I know a ton about chakras. I'm just now learning, and it is fascinating to me. So you're one of the things that you also specialize in that I totally missed that reminded me of is that you're very into manifestation through hypnosis. Can you give us some examples of how that has played out?
Yeah, well, I'd like to work with one technique, guided technique, top to bottom, where you're really focused on, okay, what do you want to feel when this is manifest? Meaning it's kind of like really your why. Like we tend to focus on, I want a larger apartment with more light, et cetera. Okay, why? How is that going to make you feel, right? That's the energy you're trying to bring in. And then we're going through to the visioning, which is this chakra, visualizing yourself there, expressing, already having it, feeling in the heart that you can really attract the support and whatever you need to bring it about. The navel center, the third chakra, is about what are the action steps you need to take. The sacral in the pelvis is about fluidity. How do you adapt if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want it on the first try? And then the root is, it's happened. I've made it manifest. So we're doing this whole downward flow to help support that process of trying to attain a goal.
Okay, so very fun. Can you give us a manifestation story of your own?
Oh, oh my. Yeah, I use this technique a lot. I used it with my book, right? I thought I was going to self-publish because I didn't have a big enough platform. But I really just had this flash one day that if I restructured things in a certain way, someone might publish it. And I really got this sense of, how could I manifest that? But it really was based in a feeling of how it would be more accessible to people. That was the feeling of it. I had to reshape the way I communicated it to be more accessible. So I really focused on that as I rewrote, that I was manifesting and I was doing this process daily around, this is easy for people to read, easy to understand, relates to their daily lives, women in particular, because that book is for women. And that energy really just drove everything I did as I worked on it. And I feel that really manifested that possibility of being published by Llewellyn.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. It's I don't understand it, but the little I understand is it's very difficult to get someone to publish your book, which is why most people don't even try to. What are some of the advantages of having someone else publish versus self-publishing?
Yeah, there's really pros and cons, right? They do distribute it more widely, and is more easily sold on other platforms besides Amazon, for example, or whichever platform you're using. There are pros and cons, right? They also provide some marketing support and a high level of editing and graphics work that you'd have to pay for yourself. Now, the advantages of self-publishing are you are getting a higher percentage per, right? So I think it really depends on what someone's goals are. I don't think there's a right or wrong. In my case, it's really about my private session work and workshops, not sales of the book per se. So it worked out very well to have them publish it. And that has brought in new people that I can work with.
Okay, so your workshops, are they online? Are they in person?
They are mostly online, yes. Yeah. So all of that is at enlightenedenergetics.com.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for everything. My final question is, this is Think Your Way to an Epic Life. So what's a tip that you have for our folks to help them think their way to an epic life?
Open to things that are new to you. If you find yourself saying no, like to chakra work or meditation, take a moment and stop. Let go of the no and just honestly consider it and give it a try.
I love it. I love it. Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kara. This has been great. We really appreciate you.
Right back at you.